Welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope. This week, not a big week, but it is a major vibe shift for pretty much going into August. And August is definitely, I wouldn't call it a vibe, but I would call it something. Before I get started, I just wanted to quickly announce, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I posted a new type of video last week on my YouTube. I answered a question about like, how do you interpret multiple stelliums in your birth chart? And that clip came from a live stream over on my Patreon. Over on my Patreon, I'm now offering a once a month live Ask Me Anything episode only for my patrons. It's available for both tiers, but if you're on the $10 tier, you can ask me any question that you want, including things about your birth chart, and I'll be going over that once a month. So now, if you're a member of my Patreon, that means there's ad-free content, exclusive content, live monthly overviews where we go over the whole month together. We have rising sign horoscopes. So if you're a Taurus rising, Sag rising, Scorpio rising, whatever, I have horoscopes for the whole month on there. Now I also have Ask Me Anything. So there's all types of content now over on my Patreon. So go ahead and consider becoming a patron and supporting me. And if you want to support me, but you don't have the $5 or $10 a month to do that, I still really appreciate you anyway. Go ahead and like this video or comment on it. Just for the algorithm boost. The engagement, if you guys aren't familiar, the engagement is really important on YouTube. So just liking, even commenting your negativity, it actually helps me out. So that's why I said in my last weekly, tell me if you don't like me. It actually does help me out. So it's a win-win for both of us. You can share your hate with me and I get a little bit out of it. So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for being here. Let's go ahead and jump into the highlights. Like I said, this isn't the biggest week ever, but the vibe shift really happens this week to go into August. We have Sun-Trine Neptune. That's really not a big deal. That's how little is going on this week that I have to bring up Sun-Trine Neptune. Mercury enters Leo. I really love the switch from Cancer to Leo because Cancer is kind of like, I kind of feel a certain way and doesn't and can kind of be crabby about saying versus like when everything goes into Leo, you kind of say it with your chest. Sun goes into Leo. Like I said, when we get into Leo season, we're going opposite all of this Saturn and Aquarius stuff. Mars and Taurus is going to be squaring all of this fixed energy. I think when the sun goes into Leo, the vibe shift really occurs. And then, of course, Venus squares Jupiter. And that'll be at the end of the week. That'll actually be almost like a Monday of next week thing. So we'll go ahead and talk about it. Anyway, we start Monday off with the moon ingressing into Aries. It's going to make a square to Venus. Now that Venus, especially in Cancer, again, on my last weekly, I kind of mentioned that Venus doesn't enter Cancer till late Sunday night. But the moon will enter Aries on Monday. It will square Venus. Then it will conjoin Jupiter as the sun trines Neptune. So let's go ahead and pull up the chart. Okay, number one. Moon's going into Aries and squaring Venus in Cancer. Let's kind of talk about Venus in Cancer too for a moment. Now, Venus, again, pleasure, indulgence, sensations, feeling good. I like Venus in Cancer. I love Venus in Gemini. In fact, Venus in Gemini. Now, if you have Venus in Gemini out there, there's something about it where we just have a fucking sweet tooth where we just cannot stop eating sweets. And boy, has it been bad the past couple of weeks. I've been indulging in sweets. But as Venus goes into Cancer, there is this kind of focus on, again, like necessity. What do you need to protect? What do you need to feel good and cozy? Like Venus in Cancer is very like a blanket, hot cocoa, like feeling cozy, feeling comfortable versus Venus in Gemini is very like stimulation. I really do like Venus in Cancer. And I think the shift just kind of goes to Venus in Gemini is just such a social, like expressive sign versus Venus in Cancer is a very nurturing, very like, what's the opposite of an extrovert? Introvert. Why? I could not think of that. It's much more introverted. But as the moon goes into Aries, and again, the moon, how we're feeling, our emotions, what we're kind of sensitive to at any given point in the day. The moon's going into Aries. This is all about confrontation, like attacking, getting direct. And as the moon goes into Aries and squares Venus in Cancer, I mean, this is Venus in the moon sign. And there's something about like it's kind of like, I feel like the moon in Aries squaring Venus in Cancer is like if a baby's crying, like shaking the baby, like stop crying. And it doesn't work that way. I don't know if you've ever shooken a baby to stop crying, but I don't think they stop crying. I've never done that before, but I don't think that works. So on Monday, with the moon in Aries squaring Venus in Cancer, if you need things to relax and settle down, you can't just like aggressively charge it. And I think that's a big learning lesson because the moon, after it squares Venus in Cancer, where it's like, hey, you need to like actively, like pursue something, engage in something, but just make sure you're focusing on like, feeling good, taking care of the things that you need to take care of. But as the moon separates from Venus, it's going to start applying to Jupiter and Aries. Jupiter's getting ready to station retrograde. So there's a lot, like Jupiter's kind of building up for this moment of like, all right, let's recap everything that Jupiter and Aries has been. And a lot of us have learned, this, I think I said this on my last weekly. Jupiter and Aries is so funny because like when Mars conjoined Jupiter, it was like, we can do anything. And now that Mars is in Taurus and Jupiter's like slowing down, it's like, oh, maybe I can't do everything. Maybe I need to slow it down a little bit. Maybe I took on a little bit more than I can chew. But that's fine. I think as the moon starts applying to Jupiter, though, there is this kind of thoughtfulness of like, hey, what can I do? And where's my energy best placed? Like Jupiter in Aries is very like, again, Aries is action, Aries is drive, Aries is attacking, Aries is going for things. It's like that drive. And Jupiter is, again, your beliefs, your what you have faith in. It's expanding this. And so I think as the moon conjoins Jupiter, there is a sense of like, what can I actually, accomplish? Where can I best place my energy? Because there's not just this hope and faith that is just, kind of loosely being applied. Like it's much more, it's starting to concentrate itself down a little bit. So I think as Monday, as the moon starts to apply to Jupiter, there is this like, okay, again, what can I do? What is a reasonable thing that I can get done? Also, for all my Virgo placements, do you notice this clean line around this circle? Do you notice that I fixed the crop? Canva is really difficult to learn sometimes. But anyway, look how clean that crop is. I finally figured it out for all of my Virgos. So if you're a Virgo and you appreciate it, let me know. And the sun trines Neptune. Here's the thing. Sun in Cancer, trining Neptune in Pisces. There is a splash of like, I would say Disney magic. Well, I say Disney magic because like how you'll like watch an old Disney movie and you can kind of reminisce on your childhood. And there's this nostalgia factor. The sun is like our will, our identity, what's giving us energy, right? And as the sun trines Neptune, there really is like this like sweet energy in terms of like what's going to make you feel good. For me, when I think of Cancer stuff, I brought this up before of like nostalgia, old songs, old videos. Like you ever watch like old VHS videos from like the 90s or 80s or even like way before that? It's so like just everything was so simple back then. And so I think there is this ability to reminisce on things and this ability to kind of idealize situations. Because what I love about nostalgia is that it's really just idealizing things. It has nothing to do with like the past is just as bad as the future in a lot of ways. But as the sun shines Neptune, there is this kind of sense of like, what it's just feeling a little bit more magical. I know that sounds weird, but I think on Monday we're shifting into, again, we're going into a bigger shift going into August. And I think the sun in Cancer trining Neptune in Pisces is kind of like, where have we come from? Where have we gone? Or where are we going? And there's just this kind of sense of like embracing what, is or could be. Like again, Neptune's very like dreamy and illusionary, and the sun in Cancer is like that just feels good to think in those ways, right? And I think it's just really important to energize yourself with those type of things. So that's Monday. We get into Tuesday. Only thing going on Tuesday is Mercury enters Leo. Say it with your fucking chest. I'm a Mercury in Leo, and I was just putting this together. I talk on speakerphone all the time. Like whenever I'm on the phone, like I just talk on speakerphone and if everyone can hear me, I don't care. But I don't do that in like the grocery store. I'm not like annoying or anything like that. But Mercury, messages, communication, our ideas, our thoughts, they're working in visions. Like the same, like I'm a Mercury in Leo. And a big thing with like Mercury is again, like your ideas and Leo is so like in the spotlight, right? It's super visionary. Like for me as a Mercury in Leo, in order for me to process things, I really have to visualize and see them or make some type of act it out in some way. I think as Mercury goes into Leo, Mercury in Cancer has been like a really big focus on necessity, really big focus on like how you're feeling, like that mind gut connection with Mercury in Cancer. Mercury in Leo is like, what's in your soul? Like say it with like, what are you feeling on the inside? What is your like, and I can hit on this Leo stuff all day long because with all this Aquarius stuff that we've got going on, this world and society and governments and corporations, they don't want you to be yourself. They want to beat you on top of the head and make you feel bad and make you just conform to whatever they want you to. Like, what does your soul feel? What do you feel as an individual? What do you want to say? What do you want to express? Mercury and Leo, say it. Like, especially too, I feel like in this culture right now, it's so easy to be scared to say things. Stop being scared to say things. Fuck everybody and fuck the consequences. They could literally all eat shit. Say how you fucking feel. Say what's on your mind. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. I think that's good advice all the time, but with Mercury and Leo, it's really important to express that. Because here's the problem with the Leo Aquarius axis. If you're not shining in the light, it's going to be super easy to put yourself in the dark. And like when we get into all this Leo season stuff, like we're going to keep talking about it. Anyway, Mercury goes into Leo. Say it with your chest. Say it loudly. Give it a roar. And I think as Mercury goes into Leo too, your mind, your thoughts are going to go much more into this extravagant, like visionary mode of excitement, I think is one way to look at it. So I think it's Tuesday, and I mean, this is really the only thing that's going on Tuesday. Like the moon is kind of just hanging out in Aries. It's not really making an aspect to like really late. I don't even think it hits Saturn. I think it hits Saturn like super early Wednesday morning. But I think it's just Mercury goes into Leo. Like I think it's time to start shifting your mind towards like individuality, your spirit, your soul. Fuck this Aquarius stuff, guys. Really. And I don't mean this like, some people in the comments might be like, Cameron, I'm an Aquarius and I'm taking this super personally. Well, don't. It's not about you. It's just this archetype that you can maybe play into a little bit more for better or for worse. And there are moments where the Aquarius archetype is really important. And the reason I'm so like big about this Leo Aquarius stuff is how astronomy works is when Saturn is retrograde and the sun goes into Leo and we go opposite Saturn, that means Earth is at its closest transit to Saturn. So that means it's in Earth's orbit, we're as close to Saturn as it gets. So think about that metaphysically. Saturn, right? Rules, restrictions. It's an Aquarius of society and people. That stuff is closer to us than at any other point in the year. So those topics come up. But with the sun in Leo and all this stuff going into Leo, there is this opposition, right? This conflict, I always like to, say like an opposition is literally like a Mexican standoff, like, mano y mano. It's not about like a square is much more of like tension versus a opposition is like a direct conflict. And so as we go into this Leo stuff, there is this opposition to literally everything. With all the Saturn Aquarius stuff going on. And I just think as Mercury goes into Leo, this is where the mindset shift. This is where the mindset shift occurs. This is where the attitude shift. Well, I don't even want to say the attitude. I think this is just where your mind really starts to shift. And maybe when the sun goes into Leo, the attitude really comes into play. So that's Tuesday. We get into Wednesday. A few things going on Wednesday. Moon's going to sextile Saturn. Yeah, that's what happens on Wednesday. The moon will then go into Taurus, and it will sextile Venus, and it will square Mercury, and then the sun will go opposite Pluto. So there's quite a bit there. Let's kind of break it down. This is Wednesday, so this button, there we go. So number one, I think as we get into earlier on Wednesday morning, it's like got to be like 1 a.m. is when the moon sextiles Saturn. With this moon in Aries transit, right? We're investing ourselves. We're like, what I love about the Cancer Aries aspect, it's like doing what we need to do, doing things that might make us uncomfortable, but we need to get it done. Cardinal signs are all about initiating. Aries initiates spring. Cancer initiates summer. Libra initiates fall. And Capricorn initiates winter. So a lot of the cardinal signs are about starting something. And so the moon's still in Aries. We're still trying to initiate and go. The moon's going to be sextiling Saturn. So there is this kind of like constructive vibe to it, kind of getting things like together. As the moon kind of like squares the sun, there is this kind of like, again, getting out of your comfort zone to do the things that you need to do. Or at least, I don't want to say, yeah, just getting out of your comfort zone is probably the best way to look at it. But as the moon goes into Taurus, that's where the vibe really shifts to kind of like keeping the momentum, right? As you guys have seen with Mars and Taurus, like it's not about going super hard right now. Mars and Taurus is like, hey, you got to just do what you can and keep the momentum alive. I've noticed a lot of people, Mars conjoining Jupiter. I want you to think about what you were doing at the end of May and how you were like, I'm going to do it all. Mars is conjoining Jupiter in Aries. I'm just going to take a gigantic leap of faith. And you did. And now that you've done that, Mars is in Taurus. And it's like, wow, I kind of bit off more than I could chew. So as the moon goes into Taurus, there is this slowdown and there is this kind of like, hey, we are now at cruising altitude on our flight, right? You are now allowed to take off your seatbelts and, mingle amongst the cabin or whatever the pilot says. We are now at our cruising altitude. it's time to kind of chill a little bit. But I think as the moon goes into Taurus and there is this focus on being more comfortable, kind of relaxing a little bit, it's going to square Mercury and Leo. So it's one of those things of kind of like maybe if you're at your cruising altitude and you're in the aisle seat and someone at the window seat wants to come in front of you, it's very like uncomfortable. The Taurus Leo square too is so like, I kind of don't mind Taurus Leo squaring because Taurus is like, this is what I want, this is what I value, this is what's comfortable. But Leo's like, this is what I believe in, this is what I am. So I think as the moon goes into Taurus and there's this kind of focus on, again, getting comfortable, getting, I like to say the rhythm, but really just kind of like keeping the momentum there because the moon is going to be conjoining Mars about the momentum stuff. But as it squares Mercury and Leo, there's this just kind of like, Mercury and Leo is very like, maybe you want to have a big conversation or a loud conversation or speak loudly, but you kind of have to keep your voice down in the airplane. Maybe it's nighttime. I look at this moon, square Mercury thing is just kind of like, in this situation, you might have to keep your voice down a little bit. So Mercury's in Leo. We're very loud. When you're in a plane, there's a lot of noises around, so you want to speak a little bit louder. If you're someone like me, that's pretty much like, I'm not deaf, but I've got some hearing issues. So I just naturally speak louder in general. But then people go, shh, you're too loud. And so I'm like, okay, fuck, I guess I just will pretend that I can hear people and not. But as the moon goes into Taurus and squares Mercury and Leo, it's like, hey, you got to keep your voice down a little bit. So while you might be excited to conversate, while you might be excited to think about things, there is this kind of tempered out like, hey, we're not there yet. So when we get there is going to be when the sun goes into Leo. That's when you could start speaking a little bit more loudly. But as the moon, in Taurus, hey, get comfortable. It's going to square Mercury and Leo. You might have to kind of temper your voice down a little bit, but that's okay. What was the other thing that's going on Wednesday? Oh, the sun goes opposite Pluto. So, I mean, realistically, guys, the Pluto thing, Pluto came back to America's Pluto spot. Inflation's higher than it's ever been before. No one is at the steering wheel, by the way. Like, I was talking to my friend about this. How I feel as an American is like, I just went out with my friends to go party. I'm shit-faced in my DD, my designated driver, I just realized is more drunk than me and no one's in control. That's what it feels like, I feel like, in this country. Like, nothing's in control and everything's just out of control. But that's the way that they want it to look. So I look at the Sun-Pluto opposition of, this is what's kind of also hard to talk about with Pluto is Pluto really does deal with like governments and corporations, and I see it time and time again in my clients' charts. It's really weird how it works, but sometimes like literal specific government things can affect your day-to-day life. So the way I look at this is like the sun opposite Pluto, everything that's going on right now, like especially if maybe you've been stressed about economic stuff, like I think the stress of the economic stuff will be really prevalent on Wednesday because like it's the sun in Cancer opposite Pluto in Aquarius. Like these are what my needs are, and it's like Pluto in Capricorn. Everything is just like, it seems kind of out of control and they don't want to do anything about it except spend more money on Ukraine to start a proxy war with the other nuclear superpower in the world. And like I said last week, guys, like I would not be surprised if shit really popped off in Eastern Europe. And that is going to have, it's, I've been saying this to clients, like, imagine you got a reading from me in January of 2020 and I told you in 3 months, the whole world is going to lock down. You'd probably look at me a little bit crazy, but those lockdowns affected everybody. Everyone's day-to-day lives literally changed. And I look at this like Pluto stuff as like, economic factors and geopolitical factors are so big at this moment that like literally look at how expensive food and gas is and now rent. Like it's that stuff can literally change your whole life direction because of what you have to do to just take care of yourself. So I really look at Wednesday as like, and I mean, the moon's going to be squaring Pluto too. I just think this will be kind of the height of the realization of the Pluto stuff. Like what is wrong? What is corrupt? What is not working anymore? Not to say that that's going to be the end of the fear stuff because we have a lot of Pluto stuff to keep going on. But I just really think on Wednesday, you might have a lot of economic anxiety like most people do. So try to just keep it cool, to be honest with you. Like the moon's going to go into Taurus. Find a way to relax yourself, right? We go into Thursday. And on Thursday, the moon is going to conjoin Mars. Yeah, the moon's going to conjoin Mars, and then later on that night, it conjoins Uranus. I says, I says, I said it's going to conjoin the North Node, but that technically doesn't happen until Friday. But we'll get into that. So as the moon conjoins Mars, I have mixed feelings about this because I feel like the moon conjoining Mars is like typically like emotional frustration. I would say if it was if you were emotionally frustrated, it would be like stubbornness. Like the moon conjoining Mars and Taurus is like have you ever been sleeping and your alarm goes off and you know you have to get up for work, but you just hate your job or whatever so much that you're like, I'm just going to sleep in and self-sabotage because fuck everything. This moon conjoining Mars is super just like planting your feet in the ground in a sense of like rebellion. Like moon conjoining Mars is like, you know what? I'm not going to move. You know what? I'm not going to do anything. You know what? Fuck this. But the other way that this could look is like if you are like not just full on resisting, the moon conjoining Mars is like feeling like you want to go fast, but you're going slow. Have you ever are you, for someone like me, I drive above the speed limit most of the time. And then when you drive and so when you're used to driving 5-10 miles above the speed limit, when you drive behind someone who is going the speed limit, it feels so slow. That's what I feel like this moon Mars is like on Thursday. It's just, you're just going to feel like it's going slow and it might be a little fucking irritating. Try not to have road rage. Be nice to people. Everyone is on each other's fucking nerves. And again, everybody in this world, all of the powers, all of the super rich people that want to divide us, they want you to hate your neighbor more than you hate them. Don't be filled with road rage. Try to show other people peace and love. Even though it's so easy to attack other people, to say that they're the problem, and they're really not. I look at this moon Mars as like, because again, why I'm even bringing this up is Mars is in Taurus. If you are going to act out in revenge, you are going to fuck up. Mars is in Taurus. What was the thing? Oh my God, what happened the other day when Mars went into Taurus? I can't think of it. I can't think of the thing that happened with Mars and Taurus off the top of my head, but it was like, it was just like the January 6th thing. I know a lot of people got kind of butthurt about that one, but it was a very meandering. It was like an attack, but it was not a brutal one. Again, if you really think it's an insurrection, do some history research on insurrections and tell me how brutal the January 6th one was comparative to history. I look at this moon Mars thing is that like if you're going to act out in revenge or anger, it's not going to work that well. It's going to be very like instant karma is probably a good way to look at it. So on Thursday, it's going to feel slow. It's going to feel frustrating. You're going to want to go faster than you are. But what I've learned is everything happens for a reason. Like maybe it's okay that you're not on time. Maybe it's okay that you're going a little bit late. Like you kind of just have to, this is a spiritual practice. And I find that sometimes difficult with astrology because astrology is so good at like, it's super easy to just blame all of our problems on, the astrology rather than being like, what does this mean? Right? Moon conjoining Mars and Taurus. Maybe we're supposed to be going slow. Maybe we're supposed to not be amped up. What should we be taking our time doing? We don't need to move fast right now. Like clearly that's what the energy says. Maybe we just need to be like focused on consistency, focused on a very easy pace. Like Mars and Taurus is like, if you've ever been broke and you only have so much gas in your tank and look how fucking expensive gas is getting, you've learned to like, especially if you drive like a manual, like fucking we throw it in neutral when we go down hills. You figure out a way to use what gas you have to make it stretch longer. And that's very like this moon Mars and Taurus conjunction. Now, what was the other thing? So that's pretty much the most of Thursday. It's not until Thursday night where the moon conjoins Uranus. So that is going to be, again, upheaval, disruption. You have an opportunity to be innovative. And I'm going to talk about that when Mars conjoins Uranus in the North Node about like how to like hack that. But the moon conjoining Uranus is like, expect some instability here. Expect some, again, Taurus is like the earth that you walk on. Don't expect it to be stable. And again, with Saturn retrograde, Saturn is now applying to Uranus. We're getting closer to the last Saturn-Uranus square. So just things are up in the air, and I think as the moon conjoins Uranus later on Thursday night, it is going that sense of instability is going to kind of hit in. And I think now with Mars in Taurus, it just gets more frustrating, right? It gets harder to do day-to-day stuff when you can't even predict what's going to happen or what's going to make you, again, Taurus is like just trying to feel comfortable, just trying to, maybe it's hard to get comfortable and do the things that you want when, your comfort food's super expensive, or, the gas to get somewhere super expensive, or your flights get canceled because the airlines just like to rob the American people, both of their pockets and taxpayer dollars, and just to do nothing. There's just a lot. I just really look at like this moon, Mars, Uranus just might be a little, you might, again, I'm saying to not have road rage and to not pop off for a reason. And that's because there's a good chance you might do that. You'd probably instantly regret it. So I think the way to counteract that is just enjoy the drive. Like, this is something about what I appreciate about like California drivers. If you lived in LA or anywhere in Southern California, when you're in traffic, you just deal with it. Like, you don't get like angry versus like Denver people. Oh my God, they lose it at traffic and they're like, "Arr!" And they want to murder everybody. You just gotta enjoy the you just gotta enjoy the drive. Put on your favorite tunes, hang out. You don't need to go anywhere right now, clearly. So on Thursday, try to be patient. It might be a little bit hard for the night chart people. I think this is actually gonna be really good for you guys. But for the day chart people, we're not gonna have a good day. So let's get to Friday. Hey, guess what's on Friday? Wait, hold on, I could do something here. Wait for it. It's my birthday on Friday. Woo, woo, woo. If you want extra good luck this week, wish me happy birthday in the comments. I'm turning 26 years old. There are some of you that have been watching me since I was like 20, 21 when I started this YouTube channel. Shout out to the real ones, the OGs that have been here forever. I love you guys. But it's my birthday on Friday. The sun enters Leo. I'm a 0-degree Leo. Anyway, Friday you should turn up. I'm just kidding. Maybe you should turn up a little bit. But the moon is going to conjoin the North Node first thing in the morning, but then it's going to square Saturn and then sextile Neptune as the sun enters Leo, technically later on Friday. So as you notice, like this is like, 10 o'clock. The sun is still in Cancer, but the sun doesn't enter Leo until like high noon, which I thought was kind of cool. But here's the thing. Early Monday morning, the moon is going to conjoin the North Node. What I don't like about this North Node energy is the North Node is like, again, it's this all-consuming part of ourselves. And the moon conjoining it's going to conjoin Mars, it's going to conjoin Uranus, where it's like, you're slow in traffic. Traffic's going really slow and you get frustrated. Then the moon conjoins Uranus and it's like, all of a sudden the part of the freeway you were going to take gets shut down. So you take an alternative route. The moon conjoining the North Node is like, you're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to just do it anyway because I want to. Like the North Node is, you are going to go after that no matter what because it's just what you want to consume. The problem is the moon conjoins the North Node. Like you might be like, fuck Cameron. I'm going to, blaze through traffic anyway, and I'm not going to give a fuck. As that moon conjoins the North Node, there is this like, it's one of those things. Have you ever been driving and you're minding your business and there's someone that's going really fast and they're like going here and going there and then they cut you off? And they kind of go a little bit in front of you, but you just stay in your lane. And because you stayed in your lane and you don't care, you end up passing that person and they get frustrated because they can't get in front of you. That person that's doing that is like Rahu, like forcing yourself into things that like just you need to let come to you. Like you can't force it. And the reason I bring that up is the moon's going to be conjoining the North Node and it's like forcing things anyway, but then the moon squares Saturn. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, have you seen those instant karma videos where someone's like angry that, someone is like slow and so they speed up around them and they either like spin out their car, like all the Mustang videos, or perhaps they like speed around the guy and there's a cop right there that just lights him up instantaneously. That is probably the perfect analogy for this moon Rahu into squaring Saturn is like, if your ego or if your desire is so strong that you are forcing something that clearly the universe doesn't need you to do, and if you travel that path of resistance, and you're just really resisting what is, you are going to get pulled over by a cop. You're going to get a ticket. This is instant karma energy. I think while this moon's on the North Node, just like, hey, just let things happen naturally. Like travel the path of least resistance. If the freeway is shut down and you're going 0 miles an hour, That's how it is. Don't try to go around and force your way out of things. Listen, like, be with the energy. And so I just look at this moon square Saturn of like on Friday morning, like you're just going to be going nowhere fast. And that's really what this whole North Node, squaring Saturn thing is. It's like if you want to force it, you can, but you're going to encounter a lot of challenges that might become setbacks. So on Friday, try not to force anything. The other thing on Friday is, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, it sextiles Neptune. So I think the other thing that I do like about the moon being here is that the moon might be squaring Saturn. So there is this kind of like resistance. There's this kind of stopping mechanism there. I think the other way to look at it too is, and this isn't true for everybody, right? I think another way to look at the moon conjoining North Node and squaring Saturn is like, for example, the night chart people that are like, Saturn is not your friend. Like, hey, maybe you should go after the thing that you want, kind of regardless of what people say. Like, fuck everybody else. Fuck the authorities. It's going to be your call. You're the one who's in the driver's seat here. And for some people, it's going to be better to just kind of just be with the energy. And for other people, it's going to be better to be like, no, this is what I want. No, this is what I need to do right now. And I need to just not fucking, be scared of doing it. But I think after the moon squares Saturn, the moon is going to be sextiling Neptune. Just hang out in traffic and enjoy the view of what you can do. I think that as the moon sextiles Neptune, there's something, maybe you could turn on, like here in Denver, they have like a jazz radio station. Maybe you could turn on a love song and hang out for a minute and just kind of relax. I think on Fridays, like, you're going to be going nowhere fast, so you might as well enjoy where you're at. There's no need to get frustrated. And then the sun goes into Leo. And I think this is, again, when the sun goes into Leo, and this is a big reason why I use whole sign houses, is because like a planet going into a sign unlocks something. We have the malefic planets in fixed signs. We have Saturn in Aquarius, Mars in Taurus. As the sun goes into Leo, we're getting this, I can't make a cross right now, but like pretty much a grand cross with the nodes, with Mars, with Saturn and the sun, and it's fixed energy. This is like everyone's got guns pointed at each other like this, like in a four, and it's going to feel really intense. As the sun goes into Leo, this is where you need to let it rip. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Individuality over the collective. You need to be a strong individual. You need to have a strong spirit. You need to have a strong soul. Otherwise, this world is coming after you. They don't want you to be strong-willed. They want you to be weak. They want you to be broken. They want you to be beat so then they can implement their agenda on top of you. And that's real shit, guys. This is not a joke. Like, as the Fed raises interest rates and they crash this economy, they want you to feel defeated so you'll take anything that they can so they can implement more control. And that's really important right now. Like, I'm saying this because when Pluto goes into Aquarius, all of this Aquarius stuff that we've seen since 2020 and 2021, we're only getting 20 more years of that. Like, this isn't going away anytime soon. So just like, I think as the sun goes into Leo, you need to kind of stand like this. A lot of this is going to be standing up for yourself, standing up for what you believe in, regardless of what society says, regardless of what the group collective says. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I can go on all day about this, but I think as the sun goes into Leo, you've got to be the one that says, I am the, like, you, like, no one is going to, do you know how leaders work? Do you know how it takes to get a position in leadership? You pretty much, take the call. You pretty much say, I want to be the leader. No one's going to walk up to you and say, hey, do you want to be your own boss? Do you want to be the leader of anything? No one's going to do that. You've got to say, I am taking control. I am doing this. As that sun goes into Leo, really, like, this is the last Leo season that we get with Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn will be in Pisces by next summer. Pluto will be in Aquarius, though. So that will be interesting. But I think it's just the sun goes into Leo. Your willpower, your ego, there is a lot of pride in it. And I have a lot of feelings about pride and, ego and things like that. I think you need to step into what's real. Maybe not the ego part of it and just kind of getting the small, like the very easy win. I think as the sun goes into Leo, you really just kind of have to step into like your authentic self. Or maybe another way to look at it is just get real with who you are. Like, this Leo shit is, you're going to feel an opposition to, like, the authorities. Society is going to oppose what the individual wants. Again, they could talk all day long about how, it's like, hey, shut up, individually, do what everyone else is doing. Take this medical intervention that, the other reason I bring this up is Mars is going to be squaring Saturn here soon. Mars is going to be conjoining Uranus in the North Node, and the Sun's going to be squaring all of this stuff. You are going to be having a call to action soon, and you are going to need to gas yourself up in order to meet that call to action. I said this last week. There's a fight coming, and you're going to need to get ready. You need to start gassing yourself up now when the Sun goes into Leo, so when the fight comes, you are ready for action. So as the Sun goes into Leo, I want you to, like, as this Leo season starts, I want you to just not give a fuck. Really. Like, I hate saying that sometimes because I think it is important to give a fuck about things. But, like, it's Leo season. You got to just do what's going to be good for you. You got to do what you know is best for yourself, not what other people tell you is good for you. They don't know you. You know you, and you do what's good for you, whatever that is. But I think as the Sun goes into Leo, you're going to be, if you know you are doing Leo season wrong, if you feel insecure, if you feel weak, and if you feel like you have to placate into the group dynamic, the group thought, or if you have to belittle yourself for the sense of other people to feel more comfortable, fuck them. Fuck everybody else. You're just, again, I said this before, this is something that helped me kind of get over a lot of shit. If I have to deal with everyone's bullshit that they like to throw at me, then everyone's going to have to deal with my bullshit. I feel less apologetic about being myself in that terms because other people are not apologetic about imposing their will onto you. So you should not be apologetic, imposing your own will on yourself. So just, I don't know. I can go on all day about that, but let's kind of keep moving forward. Saturday, the moon goes into Gemini. I really actually like Saturday, to be honest. Saturday, the moon goes into Gemini. At the same time, Mercury is going to be trining Jupiter. That's going to be fun. I think you should get off Twitter in general. Twitter, I'm pretty sure I might have had like stage 2 brain cancer, and I'm pretty sure I'm in remission now because I don't have a Twitter anymore. Mercury's going to trine Jupiter. Get off Twitter, get off online. Everyone's going to be really vocal about how they feel about things. But the moon, while it's in Gemini, is going to be sextiling Mercury and Jupiter. So I like that if the challenge is, can you do it in a constructive way? So again, Leo season is beginning. I'm telling you right now, everything that has come up, like for example, last year, you didn't really see opposition to like for example, the opposition of like the mask mandates and the lockdowns really came in Leo season in 2020. Same thing during the vaccine mandates in 2021. It was like Leo season when a lot of people were like, okay, this is getting, out of control. And there was a lot of pushback. You are going to hear there's going to be this side and there's going to be this side. And the Sun in Leo is going to, like, again, you have the Sun in its strongest position, Saturn in its strongest position. Saturn is retrograde, so maybe that doesn't help. But there is this kind of fight back against this Aquarius stuff. The only problem, and this isn't even a problem, but it's Mercury trine Jupiter. I have this problem where I will say something and not realize how loud or how bold I just said it. I have Mercury combust in Leo where I just kind of say things and people are like, you said that? And I'm like, I did? Like, is it that big of a deal? Mercury trining Jupiter is like, this is fighting words, but this is like straight up being like, not just fighting words, but just trying to like, fucking fight me. Like, what the fuck is up? I'm cussing a lot in this episode. But Mercury trining Jupiter is like, Jupiter is that faith. Jupiter is that, what your beliefs are. And Mercury is like, what you're thinking, what you're rationalizing. And it's in Leo. I'm like, a lot of you are going to get really gassed up to fight. Try not to like, they want us to fight each other. And I look at this Mars transit of like, maybe it's important to just like find the right way to do something. And I look at this Leo stuff as like, Leo rules the sun. The sun is what this whole universe or this whole solar system revolves around. There's a lot of truth when it comes to the sun and what is visible and what is seen. It gives us life. So I look at this Mercury, Leo, trine Jupiter, and Aries is like, this sounds a little cliche, but like, what is your truth? Are you communicating what is true to you? Are you communicating and are you thinking in a way that actually aligns with your belief system? Because I think at this point, like the Jupiter and Aries stuff really comes alive at this point. That when Jupiter entered Aries, we were in Taurus season, we were in Gemini season. Now we're in Leo season with Jupiter and Aries. You're going to be on some shit. You are going to be on a sick one. And the moon in Gemini is literally like, the moon in Gemini is like the middleman that's kind of like instigating the conversation. Like Mercury in Leo and Jupiter in Aries is like the two like class clowns just fucking going at the teacher. And the moon in Gemini is just like instigating the whole thing. This is why I said that you should get off Twitter on this one. Maybe not get off Twitter if you like fighting, but I feel like there's better ways to take up your time, especially because these media conglomerates are literally taking minutes away from your life for ad revenue. And just getting you worked up and mad and emotional about things that literally do not matter. Get off social media. It's such a fucking poison. It's literally more addicting. Again, I don't understand why do I have to show my license and prove that I'm 18 years old to smoke a cigarette? But there's more addictive like design based in social media, but these kids can have it. Like what the fuck? It's super, in my opinion, unethical. But moon's going to be in Gemini. It's going to be sextiling Mercury. It's going to be sextiling Jupiter. The moons are emotions, and it's in Gemini, the sign of communicating, and it's sextiling Mercury and Leo. You might just pop off on someone. Now, just don't maybe take action with it, and you don't necessarily have to fight or combat someone to call something out, right? You don't necessarily have to engage in conflict to talk shit or just speak your truth, right? So I think on Saturday, there's a lot of like, you got to really step in. This sounds so cliche, but step into that truth. Don't be afraid to say it. You know, I think it's different. Like, don't try to like, again, people will want to set you up to fight them because it makes them look better. And you don't need to play into that. You just need to do what's honest for yourself. Really. And I think as the moon's in Gemini, there's a lot of chattering. There's a lot of energy. If you're not fighting, if you're not yelling at people, this is a day where you're going to feel gassed up. You are going to be on a sick one. You are going to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm capable of. This is where we're going. It's fucking Leo season. You're going to be on a pretty sick one. I just think as Mars is in Taurus, like you don't need to necessarily step on the gas right now. Like you just need to get yourself in the right mindset for all of this stuff. And this is a great day to like affirmations, like say the affirmations that you need. Create the internal feeling. This is something they talk about in the law of attraction a lot that I actually really agree with. If you want to manifest something, you first have to create that feeling inside of yourself first. You want to create a loving relationship, you got to feel like you got to be able to, like, it's super cliche and people don't believe it. You got to be able to love yourself on the inside. And people are like, oh, Cameron, you don't have to love yourself in order to have a loving relationship. Yeah, but you also need to like create the feeling of feeling good if you want to feel good from other people, because if you're expecting other people to just do all the work for you, it's not going to happen. I talked about this in my delineation episode about your purpose. If you do not enjoy your job right now and all you're thinking about is your dream job, you are not going to enjoy your dream job. You need to enjoy the work that you're doing right now. And when you can enjoy the shitty work that you have right now, you're going to fucking love the work that you actually want to do. But if you hate your job right now and you just think life is going to be better if you're doing something else, you're going to be miserable over there too. So I look at this moon in Leo trining Jupiter and Aries as like, you really got to you got to have that conversation with yourself and you got to make it real inside yourself too, especially too with all of this like opposition to Saturn and Aquarius. Like you got to know what you believe. You got to know who you are, and you got to not be afraid to say it too. Mercury is going to fly through Leo and in a second it's going to go opposite Saturn, where you're really going to have to stand up to some authorities. So just gas yourself up now. We're about to drive through the desert, and this is the last stop for gas for a minute. So we get to Sunday, and how many minutes are we at now? What, like 40-something? 43, okay. Sunday, Venus squares Jupiter. Moon's going to be trining Saturn while it's in Gemini. Not bad. Nothing too spectacular. Venus squaring Jupiter is one of the highlights, but as the moon will not trine Saturn until really late on Sunday night. But the moon in Gemini trining Saturn is like having those conversations, communicating your feelings. But it's, again, trining Saturn. This is like, for example, Saturday is like you and the opposite team arguing with each other versus the moon in Gemini trining Saturn is like when you're on your team and they're like, yeah, you served them. You did so good. You said that right. That was cool. Like this is like your side gassing you up. But the other thing is that it's Venus in Cancer squaring Jupiter in Aries. Venus in Cancer just wants to fucking feel good. And I think that's just so shitty about everything that's going on is like like Venus and Cancer is just like, hey, I just want to feel connected with people. I just want to, feel like the sense of pleasure and sensation is nourished inside of me. But with Jupiter and Aries being in the superior position, it's like the mindset of fighting, the mindset of conflict, and being in that world doesn't make it easy. And so I think as Venus squares Jupiter, you're talking about like the two benefic planets, like pleasure and goods and like gifts and abundance. And it's kind of like, maybe Venus and Cancer is like, for example, I've DJ'd a lot of weddings. I've said that before, but there's always like gift registries. And sometimes brides and grooms don't tell people what they want. So it's like, maybe, Venus and Cancer are like, hey, we need diapers for our newborn. But then someone's like, here's Jupiter and Aries. Here's this, medieval armor for you guys. And your gift, you're like, great, I love this gift, but it's not what I need. So I really look at this Venus square Jupiter as like, you might be receiving something, but it's not what you need. It's not what you actually need. Did you communicate what your needs are? I mean, maybe it's cool, but I look at Venus square Jupiter as there's something about not receiving what you need, or there's something about getting gifts, I can't speak. Getting gifted something, but maybe it's not necessarily like pleasurable, or again, what makes you feel good. So I think on Sunday, it's just going to be kind of like, again, well, it's like one of those things, like, let's say there's a big conflict on Saturday, and on Sunday, it's like people telling me like, yeah, you did good or whatever. But like Venus and Cancer is like, I don't want to argue with people. It's bullshit that society is so divided right now. It really is. Like, why can't we all just get along? And I look at this Venus and Cancer squaring Jupiter and Aries as like, for some people, they're like, you did great, you won. And it's just like, maybe that's not what you want though. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you just want to fucking get along and have a nice day. So I don't know. Sunday's a weird day. Venus squaring Jupiter, it's like, there's a win, but it's not really what you wanted. And I think that's going to give us a lot to think about as we go into next week. You want to see next week? Mercury squares Mars. Ouch. We're going to really be telling it how it is. The new moon in Leo. It's time to gas yourself up. New moon in Leo is like that. If you're an artist, like that's the green room. New moon in Leo is like the green room right before you go on stage. You need to get your head together because you have to go and kill, and there's no way around it. Get into the fucking mindset that you're the shit. Jupiter goes retrograde. That's a big one. I can't even. I don't want to say I'm overwhelmed, but Jupiter. I have a feeling Jupiter retrograde is going to be pretty big. I mean, it's like Jupiter's like on my Saturn right now, so that's a big one for me. Mercury goes opposite Saturn. Mercury fucking flies through Leo. Mercury almost enters Virgo, I think, like not next week, but the week after that. So it only has like 2 weeks in Leo. Mercury goes opposite Saturn. You're going to kind of tell it how it is. And then the North Node, technically the North Node conjoins Uranus next week. That desire for innovation and freedom and change and instability it's coming, guys. I'm telling you, August 1st is a hell of a Monday, and it's going to be shocking for everybody. So what are my final thoughts? Oh, that's not the right button. This is the final thoughts button. I feel like those are my final. As we go into Leo season and everything's shining Jupiter and Aries, like there's some real shit that we've got going on. And I think this is the time to really step into that role. This is kind of the time to really step into yourself and think for yourself, check in with yourself. And it's Leo season. Like, you got to do what's good for you, and you are going to face a lot of opposition. And it's also, I was going to point to something, but there's nothing to point to here. With Mars squaring it, it's not going to go the way that you want it to. It's going to go slower than you want. And you're going to have, this is what I want to say. You're going to have every reason to not do the thing that you want to do, but you're going to have to do it anyway. And you're going to have all of the excuses to say, oh, I can't do this because of these people, or I can't do this because this is going slower. This isn't working. You could either make excuses or you can make it happen. Which one are you going to do? And, a lot of people are like a lot of people associate with me a toxic hustle culture. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? The idea that you could call hustle culture toxic. Now, I can understand hustle culture has some toxic parts, but what do you want to do? Hang around and do nothing like a privileged Westerner? Like most people in this world have to hustle to literally survive. And that has been true since the beginning of humans. Only kings were able to luxuriously hang around and not do shit. And I'm not saying you need to be productive or have create a business and all that stuff. But but whenever I'm talking about, you know how it resonates for you in your life. And it's not about hustling. It's literally about being productive, because you're either growing or you're decaying. There is no gray zone in life. There is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. If you are growing, you're going to be giving, you're going to be producing. Another way to look at this is you're either a giver or a taker. And that's some fucking hard truth. You're either a team player or not a team player. And you need to take that into account of what it is that you're doing. And I look at this as when you are being weak in yourself and you are tamping down yourself, and you know what that looks like for you, you're being a taker. When you give up on your dreams, when you give up on whatever it is that you want, you are being a taker. You are taking from people. When you're being a lazy shit on the couch and just being deprecating in depression mode, and I get it. I've been there. I still struggle with this stuff. I'm not perfect either, but you're taking from people. And I have learned, for me personally, and all I can do is share what works for me, is when I step into this role of getting out of my ego, because when I make it all about me, I'm like, well, it's about me, so I'm sad and I'm depressed and I'm just going to do nothing. Because I could sit here and be like, you know what? I get so many fucking negative comments, and I have so many people that, like, I used to be like, I used to have a lot more friends in the astrology community, but because I have certain opinions that, not even certain opinions, but because I got attacked and I got, projected in one way, not a lot of people like me. I have every excuse to stop doing this fucking job, because the social benefits from it really started going away. And I could sit here and be like, well, no one likes me and everyone's just going to hate on my comments. Or I can just shut the fuck up and just do it, because I don't want to be, I can't just give something and then just take it away from people. And maybe that's an egoic way to look at it. But like, I could either give you guys this or take it away. And I think that says a lot on me if I stop doing this and I just become self-absorbed. I'm like, you know what? I'm too depressed. No one wants to talk to me or listen to me, so I'm just going to not do it. That's ego. Me actually just stepping up and doing this, even if I don't want to do it, is not egoic. This is me giving. This is me producing. Some people might argue like, oh, that is ego, but I don't really care. So I just look at this as like, be a giver. Don't be a taker. Be a team player. When I say a team player, that means like you've got to be like on your shit. You can't expect, this is my problem with the Aquarius stuff too, is like, if you're expecting, like a lot of people are like, we need community strength right now, yet no one is doing anything for like community stuff. Like, I feel like communities are so divided right now. If you want to be a team player, you got to be the change that you want to see. By the way, I meant to say this earlier. I don't think a lot of people are watching by now. The Denver Astrology Group meetup will probably not be at the end of July. I'm looking at the beginning of September. That first Sunday of September is probably what it's looking like. I have to get permits for it, and I have to talk to the city about it. But it's looking like that's probably going to be more and more of a thing. But it's going to be the beginning of September is when I would do it. And the astrology is way better for that. And yeah, it's going to take me a minute to get the permits and everything. But just get out of your own way. I think with this Leo season stuff, like if you feel gassed up, ride that as long as you can. And don't let people take that away from you, because they want to take that away from you. So I can just keep riffing on about that all day long, but I should probably end it here. I love and appreciate you guys, and I'll be seeing you next week.